Hello out there, all you ghouls and goblins. How are you doing? This is Killer Cuts, and for the first time ever, oddly, we're going live. I'm Bobby Munson, and right there below me, that is the natural Astrid Bizarro. Astrid, welcome to a live edition of Killer Cuts. This is very unique
Yeah,
circumstances, to say the least.
yeah, it feels weird to be doing this live. It feels awkward.
Sure does. We had intent to do a recording here for the next episode of Killer Cuts, which we are going to do shortly after this. That will be out for you guys tomorrow. Is the plan. So stay tuned for that. But we got some crazy news to cover when it comes to possibly one of the best slasher series of all time, and that being Scream. Good afternoon, Ed. Ed, how are you doing? Says, oh boy, this movie is going to be a problem now, huh?
Yeah.
Yes, it is, Ed, and that's exactly what we're here to talk about. And then, of course, Chris Parrish in the house. Chris Parrish, how you doing, brother? Says, I feel like doing another Scream movie is as exciting as doing another Fast and Furious movie. Did not know you were that big a fan of Scream there, Chris. But, it's your fandom shines through after saying that comment. But yes, Scream 7 is in absolute turmoil. We found out the news yesterday about the firing by Spyglass of actress Melissa Barrera, who played Sam Carpenter. But then news today, Jenna Ortega not returning. Why don't you let everybody get a little bit into what's going on here, Astrid, and some of the articles that have come out regarding this news?
Yeah, I yesterday was crazy just seeing the news as they were coming out because at first it just started going off of like she was secretly not so secretly let go, to put it like that. And I remember seeing the people that I follow within the community just saying, "Yeah, this is true," or like, "Yeah, like we're just waiting on more information to see what's going on." Obviously, she wasn't saying anything like to confirm it or anything like that, and there were other outlets like an Entertainment Tonight trying to say, "Yeah, it is true," and other people that I know within the community saying they usually don't talk to actresses like Melissa or her management, so don't believe everything that happens yet. Let's just see what happens. And yeah, let me hope we get the confirmation later on that she was basically let go from Screen 7.
Yeah.
And it just it's just upsetting and disappointing because she's speaking up and using her platform for something positive, being about Palestine. I don't want to mention too much of it because I don't know how much we're gonna get censored on YouTube and Twitch for saying it.
Mhm.
But she's using her platform for something that's important right now, and she, in my opinion, she didn't say anything wrong either. She's just saying like there's a lot of censorship in media, which we know it's all true. Like we know that we only get certain things to dissect from media as a whole, so it's something new and there's nothing old and nothing new for us either. But it's just disappointed to see her, and just there's so much going on behind the scenes when it comes to this. Since like I can imagine the rewrites are gonna have to happen now. Is the movie gonna still even happen to begin with? And not only that, but are the fans gonna support it? Because so far from what I've seen, it's just people saying if we don't have Melissa, we don't have Nev Campbell, we don't have Jenna, is it even worth watching Scream 7 at this point?
And that's, yeah, I mean, it's tough to say as a fan, is it worth watching? But, I think still part of us is going to be curious to know what direction they're going to go, how they're going to take it. And here's the worst part of all. It's like you've already got the people saying they're not going to support due to these exits and, non-familiar faces coming in. But then you've also got the tough task of putting a new director at the helm as well too. So are you going to have the previous directors who were planning to oversee and write Scream 7 have to go back and change their plans, their direction, their vision for this kind of newish trilogy that they've inserted into this series? While at the same time, like, I love the work of the director that they've got on board, but I don't know that style really lends itself to Scream in terms of this him taking over something brand new and starting from scratch. And I don't know how that would translate. I want to believe it would, but I wanted to also think more that the direction that he would have from the previous directors and with their script available as well would make for a more interesting Scream 7. So I'm really curious about where do they go? Do they now have to go and beg Nev Campbell and offer Nev Campbell, tons and tons of money and say, look, we're sorry about last time out. Now we need you more than ever. Or do they strongly believe that they've got something so strong that they can just forget about everything that they've built up to this point. I don't think so. I think there's more to this. I honestly, from my perspective, is you can't get Jenna Ortega due to the web tapings. Then wait, just wait. I don't think we need Scream 7 to rush itself so much that we get a half-assed version of what Scream 7 could be. That's my personal opinion.
Yeah, that's true. Because thinking of like Screen 7 as a whole, how would you end it? We have the part of there's so many rumors about their mom appearing in the next movie. So how do you have the mom show up and not the girls? And based on how we had the excuse for Sydney not being in the movie, it's like, oh, Sydney is just with her family. What excuse are we gonna give for Sam and Sarah not to be in the movie? Like
Yeah,
that's gonna be humongous. It's just gonna be like, no, they just got busy. They're not doing anything else.
yeah.
It's just not gonna make a lot of sense. And I feel like the core four is something really strong. So I don't see how they could end it like this. It just either you end it with six and leave it alone, or like a lot of people are suggesting, just sell the rights to another company that's willing to make the movie with both of them as their leads, because it doesn't make sense to just end it without them. It really doesn't. And I saw so many points online, and one of them that I wanted to bring up is like the fact of like Melissa has a background of being in telenovelas from Mexico, so to be able to like break out of that market and to get into something as huge as Scream, and how big the movie was, in just the box office alone, and just thinking of like, she did such a great transition. It's like, what would you end something that is doing so great? And it's like, if you notice, people love the actors that we got for Scream 6. That's why the movie did so well as well, because we
Mhm.
like the group that we got. If you get rid of most of the group, a lot of people are not going to end up watching it. And just thinking of not only that, but the support that the girls are not getting, starting from Nev Campbell to now Melissa and even Jenna, people are going to start dropping from being fans somehow. They'll probably end up watching it later if it comes out on DVD, but probably they won't come up to watch it in the movie theater to begin with.
And that would be the unfortunate part, and possibly the absolute demise of the series getting theatrical releases moving forward. We'd probably end up seeing a straight to streaming type version of Scream in the future. Ed saying it will never end. That is okay, because slasher movies never do, my friend. And we continue to accept new characters all the time. It's just with this one, it's tough because again, at this point in time, they are on, they're kind of like on a roll and stuff like that with what they're doing. Before I get to mentioning about the kind of roll they're on, though, Chris Best coming in saying even if they change around the Scream franchise, I hope they keep it within Wes Craven's vision to a certain extent. Wes had a great way of directing, but I would actually call it Kevin Williamson's Kevin Williamson's vision, because this was initially something that he came up with in the first place. He had originally planned the initial trilogy to the entire series. And, ever since he's had a bit of a stake in it, a bit of an interest in the entire franchise as it is, and doesn't get enough credit for his input into what's happened with the Scream franchise. But, of course, don't deny what Wes Craven's done either. I mean, 4 movies that he did perfectly. Wes Craven is, one of my favorite horror movie directors of all time. So I definitely see where Chris is coming from on this. But I wanted to mention the success that we're talking about. And that was, now that they're losing Jenna Ortega, and it says here from Deadline, Jenna Ortega, who was a linchpin draw in getting Scream 6 to the horror franchise's best opening gross ever at 44 million stateside and 67 million global, isn't expected to return for Scream 7. And between that and the other one, it's like, oh, like this hurts. This hurts the series in such a bad way. Good afternoon, Lauren. How are you doing? Oops, McCarthyism is back. I wish the movie could go forward in a profitable and fun way, but losing who they have makes it makes it tough to believe. I mean, again, they have an ace up their sleeve is what our question is. Like, can they get Nev back after what they did to her last time out? They've I got the problem on their hands of Jenna just being too big a star for the horror franchise anymore. Really, I mean, we knew that going into the last one that keeping Jenna was going to be tough as it is, but losing Melissa, I mean, they could have still made her the main foil. I mean, she was the main focal point, and her firing couldn't come at a worse time when they were finally getting to the point of being able to go into production. This was one that they wanted to start filming quite a while ago, but due to obvious strikes and everything like that going on, it was not going to happen. And now they're just in a really, really bad position, very bad position going on. Yeah, what can you foresee happening with Scream 7, Astrid? Is there anything you'd like to see happen if they aren't able to get either, like, again, obviously Melissa's a no, but like if they can't get Jenna, if they can't delay it, they have to go forward with it. Is there anything as a fan you can see them doing that would make this okay in your opinion?
It's gonna be tough for me. Even like I said, I've seen it in the community, and even thinking about being a fan from the beginning, just it's so tough because I think of like they could rewrite the movie, and like I said, that would just give us like a cheap excuse for Melissa's absence. And again, I feel like Seven would have wrapped everything great with a little bow on the top and everything, but we had to ruin that. So it's gonna be hard to see the movie without any of them. So it's gonna be tough to even think about watching it, just knowing what happens behind the scenes. And even then, a lot of people as a whole know this is Spyglass and Paramount, so a lot of people are just probably gonna think, just let it go and give it to somebody else who's probably gonna give it a better direction, because they're already thinking you're not standing behind your girls, and it's like it's not a great track record that you have so far with Spyglass. So a lot of people are not gonna want to watch it. So it's just tough, even if you like rewrite it. The other thing I could see happening would be them delaying it, because even from the get go, when the movie was being sold after the strike that it was going to get announced soon, that it was going to be filming soon, a lot of people automatically knew Jenna was going to have very limited screen time because she's recording Beetlejuice and Wednesday and I don't know what else. So I had a feeling they will probably what if they put her again in the opening scene, but this time they kill her knowing that she won't be there for much of the movie. And it's just like there's so many things, so many factors to it that I just kept thinking, I don't know how I'm gonna be able to watch Scream 7 now if it does come out. Like I won't be able to enjoy it as much because it's not gonna wrap up the way I wanted it to be with the exits and probably the rewrites that they're gonna have to do. So it's just like I automatically have something in mind of they're gonna wrap it up, give us a story of her and Sydney kind of teaming up at the end, and then Sydney saying goodbye to this whole thing, the whole story. Probably something with Stu Macher and his side of the family because we never had anything on that side, and then the girls ending, and then now it's just like if they decide to move forward with it, I feel like little by little everybody else is gonna start dropping as well because I see like it may seem funny, but the core four are actually like friends in real life. So even though they're saying that Jenna's absence is because of the scheduling, which is true in a way, but it also has to do with Melissa because Melissa and her got really close during filming. So to see, Mason will be another one that I could see saying something soon. I see like especially the core four in itself, I can see them saying something, standing up somehow. And the other part that we saw was the director saying, "Oh, this is out of my hands. I had nothing to do with this." So I was like, and then how does that affect not only this but Melissa's upcoming project with Radio Silence as well, which is something that she had going on sometime soon. But yeah, just a lot of moving parts. I don't know if I'm gonna end up like enjoying the movie as a whole when it comes out. I don't know. It just depends on what happens later.
Yeah, we do have a couple of questions for us coming in regarding this here. We'll start with Ed's and then we'll move on to Lawrence here. Ed wants to know, what is the biggest blow? Is it Nev, Jenna, Melissa, or is it just everything that gets it derailed? Everything plays a huge part on it. With when it comes to Nev with the last one, it was wrong that they weren't willing to offer the money. If they had an idea for Nev in Scream 6 and they weren't willing to pay the money to get her in Scream 6, then that's on them and that's ridiculous. For me, Nev's story should have wrapped in 5. Really, I think that she could have gone off into the sunset or something just to not have to be there. But of course, they kind of left it open ended with 5. So the expectation was 6 to come back around. And then, of course, with 7, like the rumor that they would maybe try to get her back. Then they were talking about, Patrick Dempsey possibly making his way back to 7. Now it's like these things are looking less and less. But how about from your perspective, which one of these, I would say to me, in terms of currently, Jenna is the biggest blow because financially, that's who is the big draw at the box office for the most recent film.
I would say it's everything because from the get go, before the strike even happened, people already had a feeling that they were gonna film the movie sometime next year, and then or sometime late this year, and then release it next year somehow. But first, the strike was definitely one part that derailed it because they knew they were waiting on that to be able to really start filming. I feel like that part, but then we kind of got our hopes up because a lot of Neff has been to a lot of media appearances lately, and especially in conventions, she's been getting asked about it. But the strike was happening, so she just smiled and didn't say much of it. So it gave us hope that she would return somehow. But then thinking of, I think like every single factor, it definitely derails it at this point because if you think about it, there's something in common. They could have supported these ladies. And they didn't. And it's like you could have waited to have Jenna as part of it. You didn't have to find Melissa like that. Just say, let's do the one last one and then you're done after. Not just do this so abruptly. And then with Nev, it's like, she's the star of your movie. How could you not offer her more money? It doesn't make sense. The story rolls around her from the get go. And, she's the first domino, this domino effect. If she doesn't start, the movie doesn't keep happening. So I think it's just a factor of everything. It's kind of hard to explain when you think about one thing after another thing happening. And then now when you're thinking the strike is over, they'll probably start filming soon, and then this happens, and yeah, the timing isn't working out for Scream 7 right now. And then we had the change of the director. People already knew that Radio Silence was not going to be involved in it. And I think a lot of people were like skeptical in a way about it because they're thinking we like what Radio Silence. It was okay for 5, but 6 did a lot better. So they were hoping 7 will keep the momentum. And then now that it changed directors, so a lot of people were thinking, I don't know if I'm gonna watch it. Let's see how it goes. I don't want to keep my hopes up, but then so many other things keep happening at this point that I don't even know this movie's even gonna happen now. But it's just crazy to think about. I think it's everything combined.
Yeah, and I will mention to anybody who doesn't know that Christopher Landon was the one who was selected to be the director of Scream 7. Some of his horror film titles that he has done, things like Paranormal Activity, the marked ones, Freaky, Happy Death Day. So he has done a lot of great projects. So I mean, personally, from my perspective, I was hopeful, just the same I was with the previous directors as well too. After seeing Ready or Not, I was very hopeful that they understand and respect what West did with his direction prior to them and what Kevin Williamson had started with the writing process to get them to this point. So it definitely was hopeful and ambitious. But now with everything starting to, like you said, a domino effect falling apart, it gets a little bit worrisome, especially with a new director on board. Lauren wanted to know, would a different studio pick it up? Seeing an A24 production of a Scream film would be 100. A24, almost everything A24 does is 100. I love A24 productions. They have so many great films, and they're very, very respectful to a lot of different voices around the world, and that's what I love about A24. Either that, or I think the other studio, and I don't know if I certainly don't have a bad reputation, but Jason Blum and Blumhouse Productions, they get horror movies. That would be the other direction that I would be happy to personally see for another studio to pick it up. The thing is I think A24 might have more money behind them. I'm not certain, but who knows? Because Jason Blum he's made a lot of profit off a lot of very inexpensive horror films in time. I mean, let's just face it, he didn't spend a whole lot on Paranormal Activity, and that turned into a massive franchise for his for Blumhouse Productions. Yes. I mean, I'm a huge Jason Blum fan. I don't love every movie that comes out from Blumhouse because Five Nights at Freddy's can still go F itself, but the majority of films that Jason Blum has produced are very, very strong. And I would be more than excited to have him put the money into properly giving respect to everybody involved with Scream 7. But how about you, Astrid? Either one of those production companies or somebody else's production company kind of sound like it would be appropriate to take over?
Yeah, Blue is the first one that came to mind when thinking about this because even thinking about it now, like Spyglass is getting such a huge backlash, and at this point, I wouldn't even continue with the movie because a lot of people are thinking the recaster people are not going to be happy, and they had even to turn off their comments on their Instagram posts, like the last couple Instagram posts and anything they post on social media now because of what's happening. So it's kind of hard for them to move on from this right now. So I said Bloomhouse would be one that I was thinking of as well. And even right now, people are thinking of not supporting the movie Thanksgiving because it has to do with Spyglass, not only because of the actors, but because of the Spyglass being in connection to this. So it's already affecting them in that sort of way. And the backlash in itself, people have posted so much about Melissa and supporting her that she has gained such a bigger following on Instagram now. People have been telling her you're trending on Twitter with Scream 7. People are supporting you. the justice hashtag justice for Melissa Barrera is trending as well, and she's been replying to certain people on Instagram, thanking them for the support. So even thinking, I kept thinking like Bloomhouse will be one, and I'm sure they probably wouldn't mind just taking the moment to say, we'll do this last one, and that's it. That's all you have to do. One more, and then close everything out.
Yeah. Chris mentioning the Lionsgate wouldn't be too bad either. I mean, hey, they've done wonders with the Saw series, so that would be very possible. Also saying, to be honest, as a gamer, I think it'd be cool if they made a Scream video game similar to what they did with the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, as long as it's a little bit more involved. The problem with the Texas Chainsaw Massacre is it got boring fast, very fast. As where with Scream, I think they would have to have a little bit more behind how you do it. It wouldn't just be hiding and trying to escape if you're a survivor, and it wouldn't just be running around randomly as Ghostface trying to find people in a house. Like, I think that it would almost have to be taking place in a town. It would have to be bigger maps. There would have to be a lot more involved with making a Scream video game, but it would be a unique idea, and I would love to play it. So, I mean, anybody who has the money to put into that, they should put it in immediately. But yeah, I mean, it's I don't know what to think moving forward. There's a lot to unfold with all of this. They've done a Scream DLC for Dead by Daylight, but a Scream only game might be lots of fun. Yeah, that's the cool part about Dead by Daylight, is that a lot of the characters have been built or framed around well-known slashers and stuff like that. Like you can use, the Nightmare or the Shape, or they've got different names for all these different characters, as they don't want to hit copyright infringement. But Dead by Daylight does the best job of it so far. Oh no, you have to have tasks to do to try to stop Ghostface. Yeah, and as Ghostface, you should have tasks that you need to do in order to be a good Ghostface, like properly thinking up your plots to get to people, making the right phone calls, blocking your phone calls. That might be another one, because you don't want somebody to be able to trace your call, where you are, and give that off to the police. So yeah, I've got the Sadako DLC. She's my emotional support demon. I hope I said that right. I probably didn't, because I don't say anything right usually, but I try. But yeah, so I don't know. What's do we fear, if they do go through with this, that anybody else might drop from this production? Like, do the Meeks Martin twins suddenly not show up to the, you lose your entire core 4 going into Scream 7? Do they go through with, and again, I don't know how on board I am with the idea of a Stu Macher return. I know a lot of fans are all on this idea that Stu Macher survived, because Kevin Williamson once said in an interview that he thought that would be a cool story for Scream 3, and everybody's been longing for the return of Stu Macher ever since. Well, I don't think I'm on board with Stu Macher himself returning, because to go from the first movie all the way to a 7th movie with very little mention of him, other than a quick blip to the fans in the previous movie in a conversation where it kind of brings up the theory that he might still be alive. I don't think that they could go down that road and do it justice. Now, they've gone down the road of revealing children or people related to people, so I could understand maybe some sort of relation to Stu Macher, somebody in his family that's, had seen all that's gone down over the years and feels like maybe his name was buried in everything. Maybe too much of the Loomis name has kind of taken the spotlight of the entire thing. And then maybe somebody in the Macher families, like, I've had enough of, Stu being buried when he was the one pulling the heavy work the whole time, kind of thing. And that would make for an interesting story. Chris wondering, didn't Matthew Lillard express interest in coming back? I'm sure he might have. He's got to do something to wash away the stink of Five Nights at Freddy's off of him. So, I mean, yeah, why not? And again, Skeet Ulrich has been back for the last 2 movies as well, too. I mean, albeit as a vision more than anything, but he has been a part of the franchise in the last couple of movies. So there is, not to say Matthew Lillard couldn't have a role there, kind of thing. I'm sure if you offered an opportunity to find a way to get Jamie Kennedy back in the movie, he'd be more than happy to do another. Oh, look, we found another Randy VHS tape that he recorded before his death in Scream 2 or something like that. His niece and nephew will suddenly find Randy's private tape collection or something like that he left behind, and they'll have to find an old VHS to play it with. Yeah, I don't know. I think they're in a pickle, and I think, to me, the only solutions are delay the movie or sell the movie to a different production.
Yeah, I wanted to go back to Chris Bass's point too about Matthew Lillard. He did have the cameo in Scream 5, though. It just, obviously we don't see him, like, his face, but he's the one with the golden, like, in the flamethrower or whatever it was.
Yeah,
that was his cameo in the movie, and he was told he could do that, so he obviously came back, because that way he could be Ghostface in a certain way. But I wanted to bring back also, I don't know if you have heard of them before, but I know they've gotten a few exclusives when it comes to Screen as a whole in the franchise. Critical Overload somebody had tweeted out some of the things that were supposed to be on the Scream 7 script before everything happened. They had eight people returning, including Sam, Tara, Mindy, Chad, Gail, Kirby, Sydney, Mark, and their daughters as well, which is something that we thought about as well. It said it would take place in LA, just like Scream 3, and the film was going to be divided into two parts: Ghostface attacking Sydney and her family, and then Sam and Tara. And at some point, they were both connected with the stories. And then Maureen Prescott, Sydney's mother, will be mentioned. And there were some rumors as well about having something to do with the test markers too. Like, somebody from his family would come up and say something like you said about the Loomis is getting that spotlight, and supposedly Sam and Tara's mom was going to be casted as well, because we've heard of her, but we haven't seen her in any way, shape, or form in the movies. So thinking about, how do you get? I don't know if Ned will want to return after this. It just that's kind of a weirder one in there. But thinking of the 8, there's already 2 dropping as well. So just like, I don't see this being like, it's going to be a lot of changes if it does continue this way. But I would say they do need the money, but they're doing great with the cons. As I'm telling you, I've seen the Screamcast in so many cons lately. They know what they're doing right now.
Yeah.
But it's a lot of rewrites and changes, though, to this.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I want to ask and this is going to be a question I'm sure a lot of people will wonder. If it doesn't sell to another production company for theatrical release, do you see it being the demise of the series if it was taken over by one of the major streaming networks, say, a Netflix, a Prime Video, anything like that? Do you see that being a detriment to the Scream franchise itself, or could it be a benefit to, making sure that the series continues and goes forward?
I think the only part that will be tough is like, because I was too young when the other ones came out, so I only watched them in DVDs later, and probably VHS at that point. But being able to like go to the movie theater and Scream 4, and then from there moving forward and be able to watch it for the first time in theaters, since like, if you don't put it in theaters, I feel like it loses that nostalgic feeling that we get with these movies. It's like, I wouldn't mind in one of these places or streaming platforms decided to pick it up and put it there, but I wouldn't lose that feeling, that nostalgia I get when I get to have a ticket stub for a Scream movie. I didn't get to do it when I was younger, but I was able to do it from Scream 4 and on, and to go with my siblings because they know how much I love the movies, and they will always go to watch them with me. So it will lose that feeling for me. So it won't feel the same exactly having it on streaming platforms. I think what I would have done, kind of like what they did with this one, the last 2, have them in the movie theaters for like the month or so that they usually do, and then have them on like the Paramount, for example, a month or 2 months later, something like that, to get more people to watch them, to have it more accessible. But I wouldn't just do it on a streaming platform. If Netflix does have a way of deciding, it's like, hey, let's put it in the movie theater, because look at the success it had for the last 2, especially Scream 6, because people were liking the chemistry with other characters and the storytelling. So it'll be tough to lose that box office momentum they had going on.
Oh, I agree 100%. I would miss it too, because while I didn't see Scream 1 in theaters due to age limits at the time, and being a little bit more difficult to get into a movie at that point, because that was 96, so I believe 96, so I was 13 at the time the original Scream came out. and I watched it on VHS because we didn't even have DVDs on our mind at the time. But by the time 2 came out, I remember the funny story about 2 was that we went to the theater, and of course, like my family, not big on horror movies themselves. I remember mom buying tickets for my brother and sister and her to go see Home Alone 3 and bought an extra ticket for Scream 2. Went up to the ticket holder and yeah, that one that way and that one that way. And I'm like, okay. So I go straight into the Scream 2 in the theater, and right away I'm looking around. I'm like, I better sit by some adult looking people so that they don't come question me and ask for ID, because I mean, I was only like 15 going on 16 at the time that one came out. So, it was always that fun. It kind of was that nerve wracking, like, oh, I'm not supposed to be in here, but I am, kind of thing. And it was fun and unique. But ever since, I've been theater for 2 right through to 6, and I was looking forward to seeing 7, as we look forward to saying hello to Bobby Petito. Bobby Stats is up in the house. How are you doing, Bobby? Thanks for joining the very first ever live edition of Killer Cuts here. And Chris Bass, I watched Scream 1 on Viewers Choice pay-per-view. I remember Viewers Choice pay-per-views. You used to be able to get those, like, if you went to some hotels, that you could rent them for like $7.95, and the movies were still in theaters, and it was, oh yes, let's go pay for a $200 room for the night and then watch a $7 movie on the little box TV that they had in your room for you. It was fantastic. But yeah, I mean, this, to me, this as a fan, this is a tough situation, and I really hope that they don't I hope that they don't rush Scream 7. And Bobby's doing great. He's excited for Thanksgiving. Bobby, are you excited for Thanksgiving the holiday or Thanksgiving the movie? As we're talking here on Killer Cuts, because if you're excited for Thanksgiving the movie, stay tuned for our pre-recorded review of that movie on tomorrow's edition of Killer Cuts. But also, happy Thanksgiving ahead of time, Bobby, and to everybody in the U.S., Astrid, and everybody else out there. Happy Thanksgiving early. We do things ass backwards here in Canada, so our Thanksgiving was a long time ago. So. Ed saying, well, I can't relate with Scream. As an MCU fan, I've seen every MCU film in theaters since the first Captain America movie. That's trying to think how many of them. There's some I haven't seen in theaters, but I did start it with the original Iron Man. So I actually did go to theaters for the original Iron Man and have been there throughout most of them. And I did see the Marvels, just so you know, Ed, so we can talk about it sometime if you want. But that's getting off track to this Scream series. But if anyone has any other Scream related stuff they want to ask us before we wind up, you're welcome to do so. Let us know in the chat. Otherwise, Astrid, if you have anything to add to this current news or anything about Scream 7.
Yeah, just a tough thing to be on as a fan, because like I said, it's one of those movies that a lot of people, when they think of Scream, they end up thinking of me because of everything that I have. Still got my Ghostface shirt from last night, so it's tough to watch this happening. Thinking is like we have 2 leads that are Latinas, and the representation we have with them here. So just thinking of like they're doing great, and like I said, the box office has been a success with these core 4 leads, and it's gonna be sad to see this happening. I really do hope that something does happen here to change this all around, and at the end that we get everything how it's supposed to be.
That's right. First they get getting rid of the Canadian gal, and now they're getting rid of the 2 Latino gals. What are they thinking? It's absolutely horrible. Bobby, I know I'm having a great day. Astrid, I'm sure you are now too, especially talking about Scream. Despite it not being positive Scream moves, at least it's Scream nonetheless. Now I'm going to have to go back and watch all 6 Scream movies. This is what it's going to force me to do. Darn it. Yeah, if anybody has any other questions, I don't have anything more to add other than, as a horror movie fan, I'm used to cast changes. I'm used to things switching. I'm used to being upset about things, and I'm used to still shelling out all my money to go watch them and see them regardless, which will definitely happen. Not even going to kid myself. I don't care how much they screw this up. I will probably still be there opening night to watch it. How about yourself?
Yeah, I'm torn about it still. They have to see more details on what's going on later on, because it's gonna be tough to watch it without the girls.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah, I think that's pretty much going to be a wrap for us here on the breaking news portion of Killer Cuts for today. We do thank everybody who joined us on this live capacity here for the very first time. We have been broadcasting over on Twitch, on YouTube, and on the Facebook page for OLE here today as well too. You're going to be able to find replays of this both on the Video Bros Network and I'm sure Astrid's personal YouTube channel as well there. So stay tuned for that coming up, and also stay tuned tomorrow as we're going to have another version of Killer Cuts. This will be pre-recorded. It's our movie review of Thanksgiving. Have you guys thought about doing a Killer Cuts on some classic horror movies? Yes, sir, we have. We've got all sorts of great ideas that we have in mind and in store, and everything changes every time somebody puts something new out. But we do have a lot of ideas in mind, and we will get around to many more Killer Cuts up chapters here coming up very soon, because we do love this show. We're both big fans of horror films, and yeah, we just avoided doing Five Nights at Freddy's because everybody already knows what I think about that one. So that one did not make the cutting floor for Killer Cuts at all. But yeah, I mean, it is what it is. So I would just want to mention before we go to rogueenergy.com, that is the sponsors of OLE. Rogue Energy, where you can use that promo code OLE pods and get 10% off of your order. And it's holiday season. You're going to want to save some money. OLE Pods is going to help you out when you use that promo code to get 10% off your order from our friends over at Rogue Energy. Now, there's the ticker for Astrid. Astrid, let people know, where can they find you, reach out to you, where can they send you more news regarding Scream 7?
Oh gosh, I get it everywhere. Now you can find me by Twitter, Blue Skies, Astrid Pizarro, and the threads and Instagram is Astrid Pizarro 20. Other than that, everything else is on my YouTube channel. So if you haven't visited, go visit. It will be just Astrid Pizarro as it is there.
Perfect. There is my information below. That is where you can follow me on the Instagrams, the threads, the X's, the everything in betweens, whatever it is. I'm sure I've got it somewhere. So reach out to me, let me know what you think, and also tune in tomorrow's Killer Cuts. We've also got tonight. Wrestle Draft is on tap, so you're going to be able to tune in and watch OLED and Chris Parrish battling it out in GM mode of WWE 2K23. That's at 10 p.m. Eastern tonight. And then tomorrow, don't miss the Boar's Nest, followed by Ring Respect Radio, where we've got our very special quiz trivia pub wrestling fun WTF night. So it's on tap for tomorrow. So hopefully everyone can pry themselves away from the turkey table for a little bit to come join us for a little bit of wrestling trivia on a Thursday. Friday night, we've got our Survivor Series predictions, our paper preview show, and I'm sure that's going to be hosted by OLED and Chris Parrish. Maybe some others will join. We'll wait and see. And then, of course, the post show Saturday, followed by busting out, mind you, on Sunday. And Bobby, thank you for coming in and enjoying the show. Hopefully you'll tune into our pre-recorded review of Thanksgiving tomorrow. It will be spoiler heavy, so keep that in mind. So if you haven't seen the movie, want to avoid the spoilers, you'll want to do so, but we will put a spoiler warning up on that video. We want to thank everybody for tuning in to the show here today. We appreciate you coming out, and we will see you very soon